With Theresa May triggering Article 50 of the Lisbon Treaty on the 29th of March 2017, UK employers have been left in a period of uncertainty. The UK and EU have 2 years to agree the terms of our departure. We are at the start of a long period of tough negotiations with the UK and EU member states concerned to look after their own best interests. This all means that we may not know what the employment and immigration implications of Brexit will be for some time yet. Much of our employment law comes from the EU, and many employers have staff who are EU nationals. When Brexit starts taking effect, there will no doubt be an impact on employers and their staff. So what action should your organisation be taking now? Think about allocating specific responsibility to one person or even a Brexit team. Of course, this may depend on the size and nature of your organisation, but it is possible, unless responsibility is specifically allocated, that necessary action on Brexit will not be taken. Whoever looks after HR in your organisation may be best to deal with the staffing aspects of Brexit for you. The issue of free movement of UK and EU nationals will be a key factor in the Brexit trade negotiations. Until we Brexit, there will be no change to the rights and status of EU nationals in the UK. Theresa May has confirmed that the future status of EU nationals in the UK and UK nationals in the EU is a priority for agreement. So what should employers be doing now? Identifying EU nationals working for you in the UK, and if applicable, your UK employees in the EU will help you plan for potential labour shortages and staff mobility restrictions that could be a result of Brexit. So, you should be carrying out a workforce audit, and that should include checking the immigration status of all members of staff, the length of their service in the UK or abroad, and for EU nationals, the date on which they can apply for documents to certify their permanent residence in the UK. EU nationals acquire permanent residence in the UK if they have exercised EU treaty rights in the UK for a continuous period of 5 years. An EU national can do this in various ways, including working in the UK. You could encourage key eligible employees to apply for permanent residence so that they have a right to live and work in the UK and therefore avoid immigration restrictions that might result from Brexit. Applying for citizenship may also be a possibility for employees, subject to restrictions on dual nationality. Brexit may affect customer demand for your services or products, or your ability to provide them. It may also make it more challenging for you to recruit and retain staff. For example, if you employ high numbers of EU nationals for seasonal work, such as fruit picking or the tourism and hospitality sectors. You might also identify a skills gap that is harder to fill in the future with a more limited selection of workers to recruit from. It seems that significantly fewer EU workers are seeking jobs in Britain following last year's Brexit vote, and many employers are concerned that EU workers currently in the UK are planning to leave their jobs and possibly the country in 2017. This all means you may need to think about the need for business continuity, how your organisation can fill any gaps, and unfortunately, the possibility of carrying out redundancies. Now might be the time to factor Brexit into a review of your contracts of employment and staff handbook. Although the government is adamant that post-Brexit, our Great Repeal Bill will continue to preserve the rights of workers, leaving the EU will give the UK the opportunity to change and relax employment laws in due course. If this happens, then taking action early might prevent the risk of employees continuing to enjoy enhanced EU employment rights by way of their contracts of employment, despite UK law potentially no longer requiring this. An example might be where EU law gives employees the right to carry over annual holiday entitlement they have not been able to take due to sickness absence into subsequent holiday years. UK law may develop to change this position. Your employment documents could state that carryover of holiday only occurs to the extent required by current law. This has been a highly emotive time for UK citizens, with some very strong opinions having been expressed in the workplace. Following the referendum, There were reports of employers facing a wave of claims from employees who felt they had been bullied for expressing views about voting to leave the UK from colleagues who wished to remain. Also, the police reported an increase in race hate crimes in the UK since the Brexit result. You will want to avoid racist opinions being voiced to immigrants in your workplace. This all leaves employers vulnerable to claims of bullying, harassment and discrimination if they have not taken adequate steps to prevent it. Steps you should be taking include issuing a statement reminding employees of your anti-bullying and harassment policy, and having zero tolerance of all potentially discriminatory actions or comments, including posting on Facebook or other social media. We are all living in uncertain times, and there may be significant changes on the horizon that will affect your business and your staff. Now is the time to communicate with your staff and reassure them if Brexit is going to affect your business or them. If you haven't done so already, it's worth giving your staff a calm and reassuring message of where your organisation is now placed on Brexit. This message is likely to be that nobody currently knows what will happen, but when we do, we will let you know. If you're able to do so, confirm that nothing will change in the short term. For non-UK EU citizens, it may be worth having one-to-one conversations if there are concerns they might be feeling vulnerable in the current circumstances.